One of the best pieces, Calvin, of free advice that I'll give to your clients right now, even though they're not my clients. I hope your clients will listen to me and do this. Fire, theft, tornado, no matter. All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Real Estate with the Premier Group. Today, I have a special guest with us, Jim Steed from Options Insurance. Jim, how are you doing today? I'm doing well. It's good to be here with you, and thanks for the opportunity. Yeah, thank you for joining us today. I'm glad to have you. I know a lot of people have questions about how homeowner insurance works and what's involved with it and whatnot. So you being a knowledgeable specialist that we've used for several years, I think I thought it'd be great to have you on board just to answer some of those questions, right? Be glad to. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What got you into the business? I've been in insurance for about 33 years and did primarily healthcare insurance for the first 2/3 of that time frame, and had a chance to get into property and casualty, and ended up launching an agency and then subsequently becoming an independent agent. So I've been an independent agent now for about 6.5 years or so, and would never have it any other way. Grateful for the opportunity. Nice. Now, I know, a lot of people aren't familiar with what homeowners insurance is. How does it work? Can you tell us a little bit about what that product is? Sure. For most people, their home is their biggest asset, right? Yes. Depending on what your portfolio looks like, you may be, you and I might call them VIP clients, and for those clients, their home is not their biggest asset. They've got money and stocks and bonds and investment stuff and all kinds of things. But for most average homeowners, the home is the biggest investment that they'll ever make, right? That's what you've been hearing for decades. And so homeowners insurance is designed to protect that asset. It's not optional if you have a mortgage on your home, or a HELOC loan, or some kind of a lien or something like that. Your home stands as collateral, just like a car would stand as collateral on a car note. And in order for you to be able to secure that loan, you've got to have homeowners insurance. Even if you don't have a mortgage on your home and you own your home, you still need homeowners insurance, because it's a significant investment, and you never want to risk that in a total loss scenario just because you didn't want to pay a $1,500 homeowners premium each year. So right. The math on that's not good, right? No, not at all. So I know you're an insurance broker, correct? I once called an independent agent. Some people refer to us as brokers. Yes. Okay. Now, is there a difference between an insurance agent and an insurance broker? There is. So, first of all, to be a broker, you have to be a licensed agent. Okay. So, the only difference between a normal agent and a broker is that a normal agent is licensed and working typically in a captive environment. Agents who work in an independent environment are often referred to as brokers. So we need to do that over. No, we're good. We just keep shooting, man. This is just raw. We're straight. So. Okay. But agents who work in an independent environment like me, who aren't captive to a single carrier, we're often referred to as brokers. And what that means is we can shop with several different carriers, right? We're not locked into a single carrier or under contract with a single carrier, beholden to a single carrier, for lack of a better way of saying it. So some of the captive carriers out there might be State Farm, Farmers, Farm Bureau, Liberty Mutual. Those kinds of scenarios, they only represent that one brand, right? USAA only sells USAA. They don't sell any other brand of insurance, right? So those are considered captive scenarios. We have 10 different carriers that we write with here at our agency. And so when we get clients who come to us, we're going to shop them with all of those carriers. And we're going to find who's given us the best coverages for the rates that we desire. And that's who we're going to place the client with. That's kind of the difference between an independent agent and a captive agent. And the word broker typically is used synonymously with independent agent. So, gotcha. Okay. And I think the great thing about that is a lot of people don't realize they can decrease their monthly mortgage payment by shopping around for homeowners insurance. So by going through an insurance broker like yourself, that could actually make the difference between whether or not they're over or under budget. Is that correct?
That's correct. And they don't realize that whenever they have that escrow scenario, Calvin, right? When their homeowners insurance and property taxes are escrowed, it directly impacts their monthly mortgage payment. So when their property taxes go up or when their insurance rate goes up, their homeowners rate payment goes up, their mortgage payment goes up, right? So if we can stick, $500, $600, $700, $800 a year, we've stuck as much as a couple of $1,000s a year back in the pockets of the consumer. If you do the math on that, when their next escrow analysis happens, right, after the end of the year, that escrow analysis is going to show, oh, they changed carriers and their homeowners insurance went down $600 a month. You do the math on that, that's $50 a month. Your mortgage payment's going to go down the next year.
Yeah, that actually happened with us. Our mortgage payment dropped by almost $200.
Yeah,
from last year to this year. And yeah, I was happy about that. So yep. Absolutely. And I know you've given us some really good rates on our commercial insurance as well too. Not only do you do residential, but you do commercial too for our business. So yeah. So that's awesome. Now I am curious though, how does homeowners insurance handle things like natural disasters? Like, I'll give you an example. We had the tornado that hit in 2020 here locally, right? I know just a few weeks ago, this caught me off guard, but my wife woke up in the middle of the night and said, "Did you feel that tornado? That earthquake?" And I was like, "Earthquake?" So I'm originally from California. I was like, obviously, I didn't feel it because I know what an earthquake feels like. But yeah, apparently an earthquake hit, and it was around the Dalton area, but it did come out this way as well too, and she felt it. And so when things like that happen with natural disasters, how does homeowners insurance take part in helping with the recovery and whatnot? How does that work?
Yep. So so an earthquake out here to someone like you who's from California is akin to a mountain out here to someone who lives in Washington State. They kind of they laugh at us.
Right.
All right. So natural disasters have different classifications. There's flood, there's earthquake, there's hurricane, there's landslide or mudslide, there's sinkhole. And homeowners insurance covers a couple of those out the gate. So a normal standard homeowners insurance policy is going to cover any damage done by a tornado and any damage done by a hurricane. Okay. Now, where it gets tricky is flood insurance. When you got a flood scenario, especially if you live in a flood zone, earth movement, which is not the same thing as an earthquake, mudslide, or sinkhole. So the mudslide, sinkhole, earth movement scenario, those are disasters that can normally be added on to a homeowner's policy by way of endorsement. In other words, you're buying up to get those coverages if you desire them, if you feel like you need them. Flood insurance, though, is never going to be covered under a standard homeowner's policy. It's always written on its own paper under flood policy scenarios, and it's only covering a flood scenario. No other natural disaster is going to be included on that flood policy. So right out of the gate, standard homeowners, tornadoes, hurricanes, that's it. The other natural disasters, you need to talk to your agent about obtaining coverage for them if you feel like you need them.
Gotcha. Okay. So for someone because obviously Chattanooga has become such a hot area for relocation, right?
Yep.
Someone who's relocating here, how do you determine if you have the right coverage for the area that you're choosing to live in? How does someone do that?
Hopefully you have a good agent who's a consultative agent and runs a consultative type of interaction and exchange with the client instead of just, sending an email and saying, here's your quote, and doesn't ask any questions or anything like that. We ask a ton of questions on the front end, right? Because we write with so many different carriers, Calvin. We can't just ask the standard carrier questions when we have 6 or 7 carriers that have their own kind of individual questions that we have to cover up front in that questionnaire scenario. And that's why we're so detailed up front, is to gather all that information so that when we go out with our quote package, we know we've covered all of our bases, crossed our T's, dotted our I's, and we're presenting a great quote with validated rates. One thing in particular to answer your question specifically would be something like flood insurance. If the client is buying a home that lives in a flood zone, the home is in a flood zone. In the same way that that client has to purchase homeowners insurance because they're going to have a mortgage, they have to purchase flood insurance. The lender is going to require them to purchase flood insurance, just like the lender requires them to purchase homeowners insurance. And so we know that right out the gate, it's a requirement from the lender, and we would add a flood policy quote to our homeowners quote.
Interesting. Okay. So obviously the lender is going to require it because the lender has, some sort of stake in the property as well too, since they're lending on it. So they want to protect their interests as well. So that makes a lot of sense. How does it handle something like theft?
Yep. So theft is its own animal in a homeowner's policy. Theft claims are some of the worst claims you could possibly file. So if it's a low dollar theft claim, we're going to advise our client to consider not filing the claim, particularly if someone, maybe broke into their car or something and stole something that's not a purse or a credit card, something that, can be replaced, right? We're going to talk to the client and go, you can open up a claim on this, but then we're going to inform and educate the client and tell them this is a theft claim. It's going to follow you around for 5 years on your record. It's going to drive your rate up. Do you really want to open up a theft claim for an $800 item that got stolen out of your car? Same thing with the home. If someone comes into the home, maybe they just, bust a door open or something like that, or maybe knock out a window pane or something to get inside the home. There's not a lot of significant damage. We're going to ask the client, are you sure you want to file a claim? It's going to follow you for 5 years. Theft claims are not great to file unless they make sense. We want to make it claim worthy, in other words. Another thing to consider is that the homeowner's policy is always going to have a limit for certain items like jewelry, right? Watches, furs, things like that, that can be stolen. And unfortunately, with theft claims, there's no real way especially if there's no evidence of something being stolen, it just disappeared or whatever. The carriers, most of them, Calvin, put in inside limits in their policies, like $5,000 for theft of jewelry. Okay. $5,000 or $2,500 for theft of furs or watches or things like that. So we write coverages on the side. They're called scheduled coverages, and we'll grab that client's wife's $28,000 ring set, and we'll schedule it, and we'll write it for the full $28,000 so that it doesn't get limited or held back in that scenario where it's stolen and subjected to the policy's inside limit. We'll surpass that limit by pulling it out and endorsing the policy with a special section that covers just that piece of jewelry, so that the client's not left standing out in the cold when the ring does get stolen, especially if it's a higher value item like that. I hope all that makes sense. I know that was a lot of words.
No, you're teaching me a lot with this right now. So
that's why we ask these questions up front in our questionnaire when we're interviewing the client. We don't just assume they don't have any jewelry that we need to schedule. We ask jewelry, baseball cards, fine china, fine art collection, coin collections, anything like that. Do we have these items in your house that we need to schedule, so that if you do have a break-in and they get stolen, you're made whole again. You're not subject to the policy's inside limit. That might only be $1,500 or $2,000 or something like that.
So it's kind of similar to the concept of a doctor who's asking a bunch of questions before they write a prescription, right?
That's correct. Yeah, that's why they ask.
And if the insurance agent is not doing that, they're probably not servicing you the best.
That is correct. They're making a lot of assumptions that they don't need to make.
Right.
They need to ask the questions and document, so that when there is some kind of a scenario like that, they've got the documentation that they need to support that they properly wrote the policy. They did what the client asked them to do. But it's on the agent to ask the questions.
Gotcha. Now, are there certain things that you can do around the home to help decrease the policy, like security systems or things like that? Is that something?
That's a good question. Yeah, that's a real good question, Calvin. Cameras are really hot right now. A lot of clients who are getting security systems and fire and prevention, they have automatic prevention where if the smoke detector goes off or the heat detector goes off, it's going to automatically call the fire department, right? If there's a theft in the home, if the motion sensor goes off, it's going to automatically call the police department. Mm-hmm. So those things are good to have if you feel like you need them, or you live in an area where you need that kind of protection. But cameras are supplementing that. They're almost displacing that, but they're supplementing the kind of the traditional centrally monitored burglar and fire alarm systems. And Calvin, what I tell my clients is, if you're buying the system to get a reduction in your insurance rate, you're buying the system for the wrong. That's not why you buy an insurance, but not why you buy, a centrally monitored burglar and fire alarm system or a camera system. It's not to get a 8% discount or a 5% discount on your homeowner's premium, because if you do the math, that's not going to make sense. And in all candor, Calvin, I've had clients tell me, oh, it's only 5%, that's only going to save me $72, but my monitoring fee every month is $50, that's not worth it. And I go back and I tell them, I mean, it's not your insurance carrier's fault that they're charging X dollars a month for monitoring your house. I mean, you're buying the system for the wrong reason. It should have nothing to do with your insurance policy. You might get a little bit of a perk or discount, right? Because you have that system in your home, but that's not why you should buy it, to save money on your insurance policy. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. So, but obviously though, it does help out when the time comes that you need to file a claim though.
Yes.
Because you have that, if you have cameras, you have that video footage to support that, hey, someone did break into the house. Here it is. You're not just making that up.
That's correct. And also, if you have a theft claim, back to your original question, anytime you have a theft claim, you have to have a documented police report. You can't just call your carrier and open up a claim. They will not pay the claim until you have a documented police report. So you have to have an incident report. You have to have called the police. They'll come out to your house. You're going to have to give them an itemized list of things that got stolen. And so, unfortunately, in this business, there are people who say, my X and such got stolen and it was worth, $19,000. You can't do that anymore. You've got to have a police report. You got to have an itemized list of the things that got stolen. And sometimes the carrier will ask for receipts or some type of proof of payment, especially on the higher dollar items.
Oh, okay. So it is good to have copies of the receipts and whatnot. In your documented, right? Just in case this ever happens.
Yeah, one of the best pieces, Calvin, of free advice that I'll give to your clients right now, even though they're not my clients, I hope your clients will listen to me and do this. Fire, theft, tornado, no matter what the loss is, this will prevent their brain freezing up and the frustration and trying to operate in the trauma of something like a tornado or a house fire. Go into every room of your house. Take your phone with you. Turn your video camera on. Open up your drawers. Pull them out so we can see what's in them. Do a 360 in that room and video everything that's in that room and video what's in those drawers. Put your camera on your jewelry. Open your jewelry box. Put your camera on it, right? And then walk out of that room. Go do the next room. Walk out of that room. Go do the next room. Go into your kitchen. Get your china, your silverware. Open your cabinet doors. Show me what's inside of there. Take that video and store it on the cloud somewhere so that if your phone burns up in a fire or your phone's laying 2 counties over when the tornado picked it up and blew half your house away or all your house away, you still got that on the cloud. And when you need it, Lord help, you never need it. But when you need it, it's there. And all you do is retract that, show it to your insurance agent and go, my agent told me to do this. I'm really glad he told me to do this because now I don't have to worry about trying to inventory everything that was in every room of my entire house. It is a mind-numbing experience when you're dealing with the trauma of a total loss scenario. You don't want to have to be thinking what was in this room, what was in that room, what was downstairs in the basement, what was in the guest room. You don't want to have to do that. So I tell my clients to do that. And then about every 3 to 5 years, do it again. Keep it updated. Show us what's on the walls, what's on the floors, what's in the drawers. Show us in your closet. Show us everything. It'll literally take you 30 minutes to make that video and store it on the cloud. One of the smartest things you could ever do.
Man, that is great advice. I'm probably gonna go home and do that tonight. Get to my wife and I. Yeah, man, that is awesome. That is great advice. Okay. The last question I have for you: can someone customize their homeowner's insurance?
Homeowners insurance is highly customizable if you have the right agent. Yes. What most people don't realize, Calvin, is that most standard carriers that write insurance policies or sell insurance policies, they create products, and the products are packaged in a way where it'll give a client, you've heard of, good, better, best. Most of the insurance policies are written in that same fashion. So there'll be like a bronze version of this package, a silver version, and a gold version. And then some carriers even offer like 4 different versions of the package. And by, bronze, silver, gold, and then maybe platinum, what I mean is that the higher you go in the package, the better the coverage is, the higher the inside limits are. That $1,500 limit for theft of jewelry becomes $10,000 over here in the platinum or the gold package, right? And so the differences in the packages are usually not much at all. So we'll never sell that bronze package or that low grade package. We usually go out the door with the medium grade package. And for clients who live in more customized homes or who have more stuff, than most people, maybe higher value stuff or higher end stuff, we'll probably put them in maybe the gold or the platinum package based on what we learn from them in our questionnaire and in our transaction with them when we first start to do our process. Awesome. So yeah, they can be highly customized. And then there are other coverages, Calvin, things like ordinance and law coverage, things like sewer and water backup, undamaged roof and siding coverage, things that we put on our policies that a lot of other agents won't put on their policies because they don't want to drive their premium up another $40 or $30 or $73 or something like that. We don't look at that. We do it because it's the right thing to do. So we do right here. We don't do cheap. We do right.
Right. One thing I've learned over my years of doing real estate and just in general, insurance is probably the most misunderstood product ever established.
Yep.
And it's crazy how just unknowledgeable we are as consumers about how insurance works, So I'm so glad we did this. This was amazing. What's one thing that you think everyone needs to know, subscribers, our clients, things like that we may have not discussed on this today?
What you just said, it's misunderstood because not necessarily of the carriers, it's usually because of the agent. And so a lot of people hate insurance companies. They think they're out to rob people and take their money and they don't want to pay claims. Our carriers just don't operate that way. Our carriers are there to stand behind the client when there is a claim, a valid claim scenario. Usually if there's some type of a misunderstanding or whatever, it's not on the carrier. About 8 times out of 10, it's on the agent. And so that's why we're so thorough up front, Calvin. And so my word of advice to your clients is be cautious of, going online and trying to write your own policy or get your own auto coverage or whatever. You're gonna leave yourself incredibly exposed whenever you do that because you don't have a licensed agent, and particularly someone like us, a licensed independent agent who's written with so many carriers and seen so many different scenarios that we absolutely refuse to do certain things. For example, on the auto side, we won't write an auto policy, Calvin, that has state minimum limits or non-standard, substandard limits. We won't write substandard limits at our agency. We tell the client if they want that kind of ugly scenario for insurance, they might as well not even have insurance because if they hurt someone in an accident, for all intents and purposes, they're left exposed. We won't write that junk. On the homeowner's side, Calvin, we won't write a homeowner's policy unless it has $500,000 of liability protection on it for our clients. There are agents all across this city writing homeowners policies for $100,000 of liability, $300,000 of liability, and they're leaving clients exposed when they don't need to. And what you, Calvin, the consumer, doesn't understand, the difference in premium between $100,000 in liability on a home policy and $500,000, about $30 a year.
Really?
And agents do it all the time to save money and win a quote and sell a policy. We won't do it. We won't write a home without at least $500,000 of liability to protect our clients.
Wow. Wow. Jim, this has been amazing. This has been phenomenal. Now, your office is located on East Frank Road, right?
That's correct?
Right. How can people get a hold of you if they have questions or want to get a quote? What's the best way to reach you?
Well, they can call our agency number. They can Google us, Options Insurance in Chattanooga. The website domain is jsteedagency.com. My first name, first initial, last name, jsteedagency.com. Or if they just Google Options Insurance in Chattanooga, they'll find us. You can also find us on Google. If you just Google Options Insurance in Chattanooga, you'll see Google page come up. And it'll have our phone number and a call now button, have a link to our website there. We're real easy to get a hold of, real easy to find. And by the way, when you call our agency, you'll never, ever, ever hear a VRU. You'll never have to prompt different things to get to us. You will call our number and we answer the phone. If we're on the other line, leave us a voicemail. We'll call you right back when we get off the phone. So number one, when you call us, Calvin, the clients are never going to hear a voice response unit. I cannot stand those things, and I absolutely refuse to have them in my agency. Number two, when our client needs us, we're a full service agency. So we never leave the client hanging. We do everything for the client: billing, banking, if they need help filing a claim, if they just have a question, if they need updated ID cards. We don't use our carriers' customer service centers. It's one of the things, Calvin, that makes us very different than the overwhelming majority of agencies in this town. We refuse to use client service centers. So client thinks they're calling us, but they're calling a 1-800 number and they're going to some service center in South Dakota somewhere, or unfortunately, many of them are offshore now. We don't do that here. When our clients need us, they call our number, they get us. Nobody but us, and we take care of everything for them. So, I hope that adds a lot of value to the relational side of the exchange when it comes to insurance. And most of our clients, that's why they're so loyal to us, because they know they won't get that level of service anywhere else.
I can tell you the experience we've had with you guys has been amazing. I have always been able to reach you. So thank you so much for that. What's your phone number, just by the way? So for those who may not have access to the internet, they just know it right off the bat.
Sure. The main agency number is 423-681-1380.
Okay, perfect. Jim, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you have an amazing day. Looking forward to doing more business with you. But this has just been a phenomenal interview, and I myself personally learned even more. So thank you so much for the knowledge and the information on this.
It's been a privilege to be with you, and thanks for letting us try to bless your clients as well. Anything we can do to help people, that's what we're here for.
Yes, sir. All right. Have a great day, Jim. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.